Hello, everybody. It's Crazy Aunt Suzie here with my fabulous sex cast. And boy, do we have an exciting show lined up for you. Have you ever been pissed off, pissed on? Have you ever been whipped with a horsewhip? Have you ever licked the bottom of a boot? The bottom of a stiletto? Well, let me tell you something. On today's show, we are talking to dominatrix Natali, and we are gonna have a blast. Natali, are you there?
I am here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you on, and I also have my producer, Ashlyn Berry from Suzie's. Hey, Ashlyn!
Hey, Aunt Suzie.
You have to understand, Natali, when Ashlyn told me that we were having a dominatrix on, I said, I cannot wait. I cannot wait, because we are going to have some incredible questions, and we're going to have some incredible people, I'm sure, ask some questions, and I just can't wait to talk to you. So, let's get this puppy going. Here we go. So let me see. So you're unapologetically known as kinky. You're pint-height, poly, plus size, POC. What is that? POC is
Person of color.
Person of color, 24/7, Femdom Fatale, who knows what she wants and will use her craft in mindfuckery. Okay. You know, I've been accused of mindfuckery many times, and you're persuasive, viper tongue to get it. And as an alternative lifestyles and intimacy coach, you often equate your 10-plus year journey into kink as a falling down the rabbit hole, and constantly you enjoy teaching and being taught new things. That's what as somebody like you, I want to know what new things you could possibly freaking learn. So anyway, your current fascinations are CBT, high protocol, energy play, and Sissification, Genderfuckery, and how do you pronounce that other word, Ashlyn? Onychophilia.
I'll let Natali do
Natali.
that one. I don't know.
We're going to let Natali do that. Introspective, immersive role play, and extreme edge play. That is exciting. And with her transition from mundane to mistress, she loves normalizing kinky lifestyles across the board. And thus, we're going to learn all about your blog. We're going to learn about podcasts, teaching classes, and some of your students. So how the hell are you, Natali?
I'm doing well. I'm a little, this whole social distancing thing means I have to use a longer whip than I normally would, but other than that, I'm okay.
Oh, my gosh, a longer whip than normal.
It happens. It happens.
So tell me, how did you get started as a dominatrix? Did you just wake up one morning and felt the need to start beating the hell out of people and things like that? I'm fascinated because I don't know that much, and I'm going to get answers from you.
Yeah, get all the answers from me, at least from my perspective.
Right.
I feel like I've told, what I call my radioactive spider bite story so many times, but for anyone who hasn't heard it, this was I've always enjoyed beating people and being mean to people, especially boys, and this just sort of evolved. And I decided to write a paper in college on alternative lifestyles, and I think I just I ran with it. I got way more than an A that year, and decided to sort of dip my toe into the kinky lifestyle. And the very first time I visited a BDSM club, and I sat in a throne and had a strange man kneel at my feet, I was kind of just sold on it at that point. I was like, sign me up. Where do I sign up?
Right. So I'm trying to understand. Okay, so you said you had this need to whip men and beat them. Well, that's a question. Why do you think men feel the need or want to be or have a need to be punished?
Besides them just being general idiots most of the time, and I like to say I'm no way a man hater. I love men. Yeah, I just think, discipline and training for a lot of men and guys and people in general can be really just fucking hot in general.
Right.
And so my need kind of came from the needs that other people had, wanting to get into kink. And so I was able to sort of play a role for a while for some people. And I used to do professional stuff long, long ago. Now I'm a lifestyle femdom, and so I don't do this for money. I do it for my own pleasure. I have a 24/7 submissive partner who is also does this with me 24/7 as well. And so I'm not sure where these needs come from, but I know that a lot of people who have these needs, there's, like I say, there's a key for every lock, and I'm not talking about chastity. I'm just talking about in general. There's a key for every lock.
Oh my God! I mean, Ashlyn brought me over some handcuffs and stuff today. I'm so excited. And if you're watching. Yes, that's my little paddle, so I can beat the hell out of myself and talk dirty, and Natalie will abuse me verbally.
I will abuse almost anyone who asks. If you ask me politely, yes.
I know. See, these are things I'm learning now. See, I'm learning all this stuff from you. This is all brand new. Anyway, so okay, you woke up one morning. You decided that this was a God calling you, Satan calling you. What was it calling you to become this dominatrix?
I think it wasn't even anything that poignant. I wish it was, because that sounds, like I was born for this. But it's one of those things where this has evolved for me over time. I've been doing this for about 12 or 13 years now. Right. And at first I was just curious about, the inner workings of it. And for me, the big draw is the power exchange. I love power exchange and everything that it represents, and especially in our modern society. Me being a cis hetero woman who is in charge, I'm already like a pretty bitchy lady, but this is a good way for me to exert that in a way that isn't, it gets seated upon itself. And so I think this kind of just helped me grow into the person that I probably was going to become anyway. It wasn't like a concrete choice. And even when I first got into it, I was like, 24/7 is dumb. It's not real. How does that exist? I'm never going to do that. And yet here I am doing it.
And you have a podcast and everything. I mean, how many people come to you and listen to you?
On average per month, when I'm like sticking to my own podcast, which is from Mundane to Miss, it's FMTM. I get anywhere from 200 to 350 listeners a month. I've got a blog that I've been running for 10 years, which is also mundane to ms.com. And I do a lot of teachings around the country, in other countries. I was actually supposed to be in Vegas at Sin City, which is a really big BDSM alternative lifestyle kink event, but it had to be canceled because and so I didn't get to go to that, but I was slated to speak at that, so that would have been my last event that I was speaking at.
Well, we're here in Vegas, and we just missed.
I know.
We were so excited because we was going to meet you in person and do this here in the studio here at my house. Hold on for 1 second. For people just checking in, we're talking to dominatrix Natali. She's fabulous, and if you have any questions or anything you'd like to ask about dominatrix and kink and fetishes and paddles, you just write it up here in the comment section, and Natali will answer them. And there's nothing that you can say whatever you want. Totally unhinged here.
Yeah.
So
I'm not really embarrassed by much. So.
No, and neither am I. Even at my age, there's very, very little that embarrasses me. However, maybe this next question might when I ask you, what is the weirdest fucking shit that has ever happened to you with somebody? The weirdest dominatrix bond. What is it? Experience. Thank you.
I don't want to like kink shame anyone. We have this saying in the kink community, which is your kink is not my kink, but your kink is okay. Right. And so when I talk about weird, I mean weird to me. And like I said, I've been at this for so long. It takes a lot to weird me out.
And that's why I asked the question, because I want to know what weirds you out.
And we're not judging anybody either. We're happy to have anybody who's interested in whatever Natalie's about to say to feel comfortable.
Natalie,
we're open to it. but we're just curious.
I know. I'm sitting here with dildos and vibrators in front of me, and go for it. What is the weirdest, the wildest, in fact, somebody just asked, what's been the hottest encounter? Well, that's a different question, so we can have weird
That's different. Yeah, okay. That's different. I will totally answer both.
Okay, here we go. So, Natalie, what's the weirdest?
The weirdest thing.
The weirdest that freaked you out.
The weirdest thing that has ever freaked me out was I had someone come to me for a session and said they wanted to do some mommy role play. Totally fine with that.
Okay, right.
What I failed to understand is that they were actually going to bring their mom with them.
What?
And that they wanted me to help facilitate a role play between me, them, and their mom. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that until I answered the door, and it was an older lady and a younger guy who I had been speaking with. And he's like, I want you to meet my mom. And I literally, I almost just slammed the door in their face. Like, nope, whatever is happening here, I can't be a part of.
Right.
And so I had kind of like an obligation. I had already agreed to do this, and I was like, you know what, what's the worst that could happen? And what proceeded was me talking after everything that his mom said in a more dominatrix sort of femdom way. So his mom was trying to speak to him. They were having conversations about him moving out, him doing better in life, getting a job, etc. But the way she was conveying the message wasn't harsh enough. And so I was basically a bitchy translator for this session between this guy, his mom, and me.
Oh, gosh.
And so that's probably the weirdest thing I've done. And there was nothing sexual, no clothes were taken off. I was dressed in full femdom gear from head to toe. I had on my stilettos, my leather, my latex. I answered the door with a riding crop. And so then I've got a mom sitting here with her son. And so that was probably the weirdest thing.
It brings a new one of the weirdest brings things. A new meaning to Leave It to Beaver. Doesn't it? It really does. Oh, my God. Okay, and now people ask, what's the hottest encounter?
I don't know how many people are going to agree with me on this. And
it's all right.
So again, like I said, for me, the power exchange is what really gets me off, what really drives me. I feed off of reactions of whoever I'm playing with. And I convinced my sissy submissive husband to allow me to waterboard him.
Okay, wait a minute. Like waterboard as in attaching him to a board and putting the thing over his face. And did you use water or did you piss on him? I want to know, how did the waterboarding go?
Well, no, that's a different scene. That was a different scene. Right. This was just straight up water. We practiced this a few times. It was hard for me to talk him into it the first time. And then the first time we did it privately to make sure we had the mechanics right. And then we did it again to just sort of practice. And then the third time we did it at a kinky summer camp. And there's a lot of people around. And so we had to get it was a kinky camp here near Washington, D.C. And we had to get permission to do it because it's such an extreme and very, unsafe. Anything you do with BDSM, I consider unsafe, but this is on the high end of edge play.
Right.
And so we had to make sure we had special permission to do this. And so for me, it was one of the hottest scenes I've done is that I got to waterboard him. And it was fun, and he liked it. And I don't think he's so scared about being waterboarded anymore.
That's amazing because I've only seen it on only these science thrillers, James Bond movies, 24, where they waterboard these assholes and whatever. But you get kink out of it. So you're near Washington D.C. from what you were just saying, right? You live outside of Washington.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I know you can't name names, but do you ever get any kinky congressmen and senators that come in?
On my blog, there's a whole section about this kind of back and forth interaction that I had that I did see a congressman for about a year.
Yeah.
It was a very strange encounter.
Right.
And he wasn't even, for me, I was like, dude, you're not really that kinky. You're just repressed and this is no big deal.
Was he from South Carolina?
You just wear dresses. Yeah. I'm
oh, really?
This is not that bad.
Oh, how funny.
But yeah, I think we're usually ranked in one of the top 3 kinkiest cities in the country. So we get all types here.
Oh, I know. I used to live in Washington, D.C. In fact, I lived there for 4.5 years. There was some wacky dinghoy people. What's the link to your blog again? Somebody just asked.
It's Mundane.
Mundane.
To MS.
Mundane.
TOMS.com.
MundanePOS.com.
Mundane to MS, like Mistress.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
I know. All right, we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I'll add it. I'll put it on the. I will put it on the. I will put it on the. When I go back and edit the video, I can add that in.
Yeah, and I'm on Instagram. Everyone can find me on Instagram under D20 Domme, DOMME. That's the name I usually am listed under for the events that I do.
Right.
I'm kind of geeky, but my main thing is I really like the D20 die because I use it for lots of things. I use it for like decisions on how long he's going to stay in chastity, or how many spankings someone's going to get, or, you know, how many minutes someone's going to have to kneel and worship me. So I just use the D20 for pretty much a lot of things that have to do with kinky stuff.
As a person who plays D&D, that is amazing. I am here for that. I was going to ask you why D20 Dom, because I do play Dungeons and Dragons every once in a while. So I was curious.
Yeah, I don't have as much time to play as I used to, and I'm not that into it anymore, but the die has really just, you know, it's special to me. It's very special to me. So I always have a D20 on my person at all times, like in my purse or in my toy bag or whatever, so that I can, you never know when you're going to need help making decisions, and I like the randomness of it. It adds an element of surprise.
Right. For everybody tuning in, we are here with dominatrix Natali. A fabulous. I just love her already. She's a little pint-sized, poly, plus-size, little Femdom Fatale. And if you've got questions, if you're in the watch party, ask the question, do they make foreskin dildos that are realistic? What the hell does that have to do with this? We'll find that out, sir.
They do.
They do make foreskin
dildos?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Absolutely, yeah.
Somebody was...
Okay, I have a question for you to go along with that. Natali.
Here we go.
It's, cut or uncut? What's your favorite?
Yeah.
You know what? There's an entry on my blog about this where I ranted about this. I don't understand the aversion to foreskin. I have 3 male partners, and for me, I don't really care what your penis looks like as long as it's big enough for me. And honestly, foreskin is just adding a little extra more skin. So like, why? What's the big deal?
I have to applaud. Yes, indeed. Doesn't matter. Yes.
No, I don't care.
Right.
Just keep it clean, keep it big, and I'm fine. Like,
there you go.
Amen.
I know. I date lots of Latin men. I have this thing. I love foreskin. I don't know. It just does something to me. It makes me crazy.
It's fun to play with.
It is. I get hot and bothered. So explain to me. Okay, here we go. What is a BDSM lifestyle coach?
So basically, I am a life coach by trade. I left a very high stress sort of New York fast-paced job to do something that I thought was more in line with what I'm feeling at this moment. I'm not sure if this is my career from now on, but this is what I'm doing right now. I talk to a lot of alternative lifestyle people. That's the LGBT community. That's people who are kinky. That's people who are in open relationships or polyamorous like myself. It's anything that is outside of the norm, any sort of ethical non-monogamy or anything that's unconventional. And the intimacy coaching part comes in with just, either kinky people or vanilla people who need help sort of reconnecting in a sexual way or even just an intimate way, even if it's just conversation, learning how to talk to your partner, learning what they need, what you need, and how to give each other what you need.
How did you meet your partner, the sissy partner? What did you call him?
Sissy.
Your sissy. How did you meet your sissy husband?
I met him online, and we courted online for a while, and he's from another country. He's from Europe, and so we eventually met up, and we kept seeing each other, and we just this is who we are now.
Fun.
It's one of those things where it just sort of happened. And it just
went on. So anyway, How are there people? Do you ever deal with people who are like newbies to the whole thing, and they come to you for advice? What advice? What advice would you give to newbies? Wanting to get into kink play.
Mm-hmm. I spend a lot of time teaching 101 classes, and for me, I teach those classes and give those talks and demos, and right now I'm working with a great kinky site called datingkinky.com. I'm a marketing consultant. I also do Femdom Fridays there, where I do exactly what we're doing now.
Right.
I answer questions on topics and things like that. The main thing I would tell anyone coming into kink, anyone, is read as much as you can, absorb as much information as you can. If you're interested in doing something that's in person, go watch things first. Go watch things first before you start participating, because the community, and, God bless them, they do their best, but they smell fresh meat like blood in the water. And so if you open yourself up to playing the first time you go to a club or a dungeon or a party, you're probably not going to get the experience that you're hoping to get for. I'm an avid, person of sitting, learning, watching, doing. That's kind of my motto.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And so I would say just get all the information you can first, then go see it in person, then start practicing. Because if you try to jump into what I call the deep end too quickly, you will drown. You will drown. We have lots of stories about people's consent being violated, or them getting into scenes and plays that they were not necessarily hoping for, or even just, I see a lot of newbies who come in and they do want to, it's kind of shiny object syndrome. When you get here, you're like, oh my God, I have all these things, and there's tons of people who also are into these things. I want to do all the things, and then they get burned out very quickly, and then they're sort of just done. They're done with the scene. They're done with the community.
Right. Wow. So, let me see. We want to talk about different things. Like there's this whole thing that you have what's called extreme edge play. Okay, explain to people who are listening for the first time, what is edge play?
So there's various plays in BDSM, and everyone knows kind of the usual suspects: the spanking, the erotic humiliation, the handcuffs, the paddles. Those are the generally, we see those in movies and mainstream media and everywhere. We see them everywhere. We're used to those. The edge play it's a term that's been used in BDSM that is conjunction with play that is considered extremely risky, and it will involve the consequence or potential short-term or long-term harm or something worse. And so things like breath play, which is the erotic asphyxiation, fire play, knife play, fear play, gun play, blood play, things like barebacking is considered edge play. Waterboarding is definitely considered edge play, because that's going to fall under breath play as well. Right. So those sort of dangerous, more risky play is considered edge play. And I never would have thought when I started this journey 13 years ago that I would be considered an edge player in my community, because I used to see that stuff and be like, whoa, that is so out of my realm of possibility. I don't know how people are doing this. It seems scary. It seems crazy. And now this is kind of the stuff that I live for. And so I think of BDSM kind of like it's my fix. And so I feel like I've leveled up, so to speak. This is the new level that I'm at, where I'm playing at.
Gotcha. That's amazing. So what is your favorite type of play? What is it that you like to do the most? What is it that gets your rocks off?
There's a lot. I'm really into CBT, which is cock and ball torture.
Cock and ball torture.
Just any kind of cock and ball torture I'm into.
Right.
I'm into sissification, dressing men up like women, and not for any humiliation purposes, just because I like boys in dresses. I like seeing men dressed up. I think it's just a good mind fuck, and I enjoy the process. And I also enjoy mummification and
what was that?
Obedience.
Mummification? Mummification. Okay.
It's something I really enjoy, and it's literally what it sounds like. It's you wrapping someone up. It's an extreme form of bondage where a person can't move, and depending on how extreme you're doing it, you will mummify someone's face, and their hands at their side. And so I like doing that because then I can literally pick my partner up and they can't move. They're completely helpless. And so that's one of my favorite plays.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Not to go backwards, but I read your article about the thing you said about like the mommy play, and like the article about that you wrote about the difference between taking care of your submissive and being like a parent figure for your submissive, because that can get messy. Do you want to explain why that would be a messy thing that most doms and subs sort of maybe go through at one point?
Sure. Yeah. So I wrote a piece called The Great Parent Trap, and a lot of people who are online, there's a lot of people who have fetishes that are tied to mommy play or, little play or daddy play or any of these family dynamics. And this has nothing to do with the exploitation of anyone under the age of 18. These are adults who are mentally acting a certain age or taking on a certain role. And so what happens is I think a lot of people who like that play, they have this idea in their mind of what it's going to be to have a mommy or have a daddy or be a little, and it is a good stress reliever for people to kind of shut off if they're in that role. But what happens is the lines are very, very blurry when you start that kind of play. I consider that a very emotional play depending on how entwined you get with it. And so you really want to make sure that you are not becoming codependent on someone, that you don't need that to, work out your stress, that you have other ways, that this is an option, not the only option. And you can, like I said, overstep those boundaries of taking it out of play and then making it real, where you can't make any choices or any decisions on your own, and the dominant becomes kind of a real parental figure for this person, where they are, doing things that their submissive or little or whatever could be doing on their own. And in that article, I discussed that I have a tendency to sort of over mother my submissive, because I pick out his clothes, I choose the food that he eats, I style his hair, he does not have permission to cut his fingernails or make any changes to his appearance without me, and that I track him on, an app and things like that. And so it's, for me, over the years, I have to check myself and make sure that I'm not overstepping the boundaries of being a mommy and being a mom.
Well, listen, everybody, that's checking in right now. We're talking to dominatrix Natali, and she is just answering all kinds of questions about submissiveness, kinky lifestyles, you name it, she's done it. Okay, so I'm sitting here going, your current fascinations, okay? I want to go through a couple of these, okay?
Sure.
The Sissification, what is that?
So Sissification is going to be a form of play, generally speaking. It's also called feminization. And it's, again, this is in the context of dominance and submissive and just kink subculture in general. A lot of feminization is forced, and I'm using air quotes when I say that, because it's generally a male-bodied person who wants to be forced to be dressed up like a woman or like a maid, or it's usually in the most extreme form. They want to wear hot pink, they want to wear crazy heels, they want to do this, but they want to be forced to do it. And so I cut through that bullshit. Like, I'm not forcing you to do anything, because I know you really want to do it, and so I want you to beg me to do that. And so I don't do forced feminization. I do feminization or sissification that is we're on the level with each other.
Right.
My sissy has a sissy persona named Josie, and we talk about that persona together. We've designed
Is that your husband?
Persona together.
Is that your husband? Oh, so he has his nickname is Joey?
Yeah. Josie. Yeah. And so it's really just cross-dressing. And it depends on how far you want to go to that. Sometimes it's just a wig for some people. Sometimes it's just panties. Sometimes it's just heels. Sometimes it's et cetera. But we do the whole nine. So we do reverse 1950s Daddy's household, Sissification. And so when he is dressed up, and in general, I'm kind of the man between the two of us, but he goes full hog. We do makeup, lipstick, dresses, wigs, pantyhose, garter belts. We do it all. He's got his own purses and everything like that. So it just depends on how far you want to go into that. And then when he's dressed up like that, I treat him as if he is, Josie, my sissy maid. And so he'll clean for me. He'll serve me food. He has to sit a certain way. He has to speak to me a certain way. He calls me daddy when he's that way. And so it just depends on how far you want to go with that.
I think I want to get me one, especially like every other week to clean the house. So, okay.
I know.
So the next one I see of your fascinations here, dominatrix, Natali, genderfuckery. What is genderfuckery? That happens.
So that's kind of links into what I was just saying. For me, I find it hot that he and my other partner like dressing up as women, and my other partner is a cross-dresser. He's not a sissy, so there's a very big distinction between the two, and I treat them differently when they do these things, because they're very different. And so that's a part of the genderfuckery, but also, like I said, I get called daddy a lot when he's in that role of being a sissy. And in general, I'm the man in our relationship. I make the decisions. I'm the one in charge. I'm the head of household. And for a lot of people, that's kind of hard for them to accept. He does not even have access to money. I have the access to all of our money. And so, in genderfuckery, I just mean gender reverse roles is kind of what that is for me.
Somebody just wrote genderfuckery in capitals. Plead for me, baby. Okay, what's the other thing you're fascinated with? I understand, what is energy play? Energy play. It says energy play.
Energy play, and again, this is something where it's going to be subjective to the people who are involved in it. For me, I would consider it an emotional practice that is, I don't even want to say spiritual, but it's something transcendental. If you've ever walked into either a restaurant or a club or a bar, and you're like, ugh, this place is dead, right? You say that because either there's not enough people there, or you don't feel like the energy is there for you to really enjoy yourself. Right. But sometimes you'll walk in a place or a party and you'd be like, man, you feel it in here, you feel the energy in here, and that's what I'm talking about when I say energy play. I think that, especially with power exchange, you're going to have a lot of energy play that happens because one person is completely submitting to a certain degree, and the other person has to assume that responsibility. So you are doing a transfer of energy. And so the top, or, in my case, the mistress, the Domme, is going to seek to simulate a response from the bottom, either through touch or speaking or etc. There's sometimes where my sub is in headspace. He's in subspace, right. And that's because of what I've done. We are exchanging energy in that moment. When you give up a certain amount of power, it doesn't just go anywhere. Someone assumes that power. And so when I talk about energy play, that's kind of what I mean.
Okay. All right. So there's this other dominatrix, Natali. There's this other word that I can't even pronounce. Onychophilia? How do you pronounce that?
Yep.
How do you?
Onychophilia?
Onychophilia. Onychophilia. Something right now. But what is Onychophilia? Onychophilia up. I'm gonna fill your
ass.
It's a
fancy word.
Right.
It's just a fancy word that I like. I like looking fancy. I'm just showing off, but it's really a long nail fetish. Anyone who knows me knows that I am obsessed with my long nails. I'm so sad I just had to take them off because we're in quarantine and I don't know when I'm going to get them done again. But normally I have long stiletto nails that I use for anything I want, usually weapons. But they can also be used for just like sensory play and massage and things like that. But yeah, I feel defenseless right now without my nails. But that's all that is. It's a fetish for long nails, and other people have fetishes for just seeing. I get a lot of people who just want to see my nails, who just want pictures of my nails because I'm religious. I've been getting my nails done for about 8 years straight.
How long are they?
Every 2 weeks.
How long are they?
Yeah. They're usually about, I'd say 3 inches, 4 inches. I've got pictures on my Instagram of them. It just depends on my mood on how long they are, but I always have them sharp. And that's kind of it. I bring my sub with me to the nail salon and I have them sharpen them and then I scratch him. And if they leave good red marks, they're sharp enough. And if not, they know to sharpen more.
Get out. You must go through a hell of a lot of sheets. You wake up in the morning.
Underwear is the main thing that gets ripped. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sitting here looking at your fascinations. Okay, high protocol. What does that mean? Your fascination is high protocol. Is that like submissive kinky sex with highfalutin freaky people? What is that? High protocol.
So in BDSM, there are different levels of play, so to speak. You know, people consider some play low protocol, medium protocol, and high protocol. And all that is has to do with, you know, in the simplest terms, the level in which how serious you're taking what you're doing and the rules and implications that you have right now. So high protocol is just a very formal set of rules that govern acceptable behavior for submissives and doms within the BDSM community. So it's my job to enforce the high protocol. It's usually used during like formal dinners or sometimes punishment. And it depends on what we're doing. But for me, a lot of our high protocol has to do with, we do tea parties. So we do a lot of high protocol tea parties. And that will involve...
You just made Ashlyn perk up. She's Miss Tea Party Queen.
I love tea service.
She loves tea service.
Yeah,
so,
I love tea service.
There's something kinky. This will bring a new meaning to teabagging, Ashlyn.
So you can do high protocol with anything. I akin it to sort of military, like, because we have high protocol positions, we have high protocol words, I have high protocol hand signals, and I have high protocol looks. And so he knows if he sees me in a certain thing, it's high protocol time. He has a certain color that's for high protocol time only. And so that, to me, again, it's one of those things where I was like, I'm never going to do this, but now that I'm in it, I really enjoyed it. It requires a certain level of detail and training and repetitiveness that I love about it. And so we do a lot of high protocol tea parties, and we've held a couple of them at our dungeon, and even in Portland when we went to Kink Fest out there, we did a high protocol class. So it really depends on how anal do you want to be, and then how strict do you want to be, how much do you want to force that.
No pun intended, how anal you want to be.
No pun intended. Yeah, there's no question. You always want to be as anal as possible.
Do you have your own dungeon?
I do not have my own dungeon anymore. I used to live in a house where I had a basement that I had just turned into a dungeon, and I think the people who ended up buying the house for me, I kind of just pretended it was from the previous owners, and I was like, yeah, they left all this stuff down here. And they didn't really blink. They were like, oh, okay. And I wanted to be like, hey, are you guys kinky? Like, do you want to hang out? Because they didn't seem all that pressed about it. And so I spent a lot of my time either at dungeons in my community in Washington, D.C., or going around, at events. But for me, I don't need a dungeon to do the things that I do, because I do I've integrated this into my 24/7 lifestyle. I can be kinky, bitchy, you'll be my sub, you'll lick my fucking feet. It doesn't matter if we're in a dungeon, in the house, in the car. It doesn't matter.
So much. Like, I love you so much. You just kill me. Oh, my God. So you've been in this 10 plus years, right? What do you feel has changed over these 10 plus years in the BDSM community? What has been the biggest changes that you found?
Oh, so many changes. I was just talking to someone about this yesterday, actually. So many changes I've seen.
Okay.
I love that we are more aware about consent. That has been a big issue. Now, the biggest thing I've seen is the influx of people since 50 fucking Shades of Grey. Really? The influx of people who have come into the kink community has been just very noticeable. And this goes back to what I was saying before. It's a lot of people who have read about it, and I'm gonna put this out there. I've gritted and bared through as much 50 Shades of Grey as I can, and the kink community says on a whole, it doesn't represent us. It is that is abuse, and that's not what we do. And a lot of the things in the book are not representative of the kink community on whole. And so when people read that and come into, this community expecting those things, what they end up finding are predators and people who are trying to fulfill this unrealistic fantasy. So the biggest thing I've seen is there's an influx of new people, and especially with how, open everything's being now with the LGBT community and how accepting everyone is. That's the biggest thing I've seen, is that there's more people into BDSM and into kinky stuff. And I have a belief that a lot of kinks are on a cycle. A lot of fetishes are on a cycle. And so for a while, everyone will be talking about spanking. Everyone will be talking about rope. Everyone will be talking about, mummification. That'll be the big thing. And so right now, the big kink for me that I've seen in the last few years seems to be age play. That seems to be the big thing.
What is it?
Age play. So what we were talking about, like, being in sort of like, I know a little bit about this, but correct me if I'm wrong, like a little space where you would, at certain times where you're in the kink play with your partner or whatever, you are pretending to be younger than you are. So, like the girls, I'm sure you've seen it somewhere because it's very popular right now. Like a girl wearing like a baby onesie, or things like that.
I see it. It's like okay, gotcha.
Yep, like daddy dom little girl play, yeah. And so we do that. I do the mommy dom play with one partner. I do the daddy little girl play with my sissy, and so I don't know if we would have even explored those options had age play not been so prevalent, but it was one of those things where I know when I was first into the scene 10 years ago, when someone would mention age play, everyone would kind of be like, "Ugh," we'd kind of cringe and not want to discuss it, because it was like, this person likes diapers, they want to be changed. They, it's grown so much from that. It's not just that anymore. It's so many other things. And like I said, for a lot of people, it's a huge distressor for them. It's a huge way for them to just, at the end of the day, let everything go, color, sit, be cuddled, be dressed up, etc. And so I think age play is the biggest thing I've seen evolve.
So I have a follow-up
here we go
for that one, just because I know like a lot of people who aren't familiar with BDSM or kink play try to like do some of these age play things without like knowing about it, and without knowing about like aftercare and things like this. So they're trying to be like a daddy or whatever, and they don't know how to take care of their submissive. Can you talk a little bit about how people can sort of learn a little bit about that so they can be a little better of a partner to their submissive?
Sure. So age play at its core is role playing, and a lot of BDSM is role playing. I say that a lot. I live this 24/7, but I'm living in a role play 24/7. That's because I like costumes. I like theatrics. I like the mental aspect it takes for you to believe you're really doing something or a part of something that isn't really tangible or real. And so, I know a lot of people get mad at me when I say this. BDSM is not real. It's only real in our minds. And once we stop believing that we're submissive, or we stop taking orders at any time, if my sub is like, "Fuck you, mistress, I'm not doing that," then I don't have that power anymore. He would be in so much trouble, but he has that right to say that. And so age play breaks that down even further, because it is role play. But if someone in their mind has decided that they are going to regress to an extent, and not in a bad way, regress to an extent of, say, like a 10 or 12-year-old in their mind, and they want to be treated like that, it is paramount that the person who is their daddy, mommy, caregiver, or whoever is the top person in this dynamic with them, not just go, "Ooh, I have something to play with now," or "I can make this person do these things or act a certain way," because that's not what it's about. You need to come into it for more of a caregiver role. If you would not consider yourself a good caregiver, you probably will not be a good daddy, mommy, caregiver, or top in that dynamic. And if you're interested in it, then again, I come back to read as much as you can about it, because it's not just, it's usually, I find it's usually more mental for the little or the middle or the big, because those are the little, middle, big are the bottoms of this, and the people who are really immersing themselves in that. I feel like it's more of a mental thing for them. It doesn't always need to include sexual dynamics. And for a lot of tops who are new to this, like I said, that's kind of where the light bulb goes off for them. They go like, "Ooh, I have this play toy that I can do all these things that I want to do with," and that's not necessarily what it's about.
Does that include people who like to wear diapers? There's this whole time.
It does. It does, and that's age play, but that's more like infant play and like baby stuff. So there's a distinction
whole
between
category. Wait a minute. There's a whole category for infant play and baby play
yes.
too. Get out of here.
Yep. But again, I reiterate this because it's really important. Age play is not about pedophilia, okay? BDSM is not about abuse.
No, I
and
understand
all the
that.
actions and dynamics described are going to be between adults. And I'm just saying that to cover my ass because I hear it so much. But yeah, you get the babies who want to be infants, who want to wear the diapers and be fed with a bottle and pacifiers and things like that. Then you've got the littles who are going to be maybe like age 5 or to 7.
Gotcha.
Then you've got the middles who are 8 to 10. Then you've got the bigs who are acting like teens. And so it really depends on what you're looking for. A lot of it is fun. I see a lot of people who are doing age play in a way that I'm not, but they look like they're having fun, and I'm happy for them. But it's really easy to be preyed on if you're into that sort of play.
So, Natalie, you identify yourself as POC queer plus-sided dom. What is it like to represent these communities in BDSM?
For me, it was not really something that I thought about for a long time, and I kind of shied away from, talking about it because I didn't want to make it a thing. But I try to embrace it because I do get a lot of other POC people come up to me and say, hey, I didn't know, other POC people were into this. Thank you. And so all across the board, if I can normalize or just make other people feel like they're not alone. Like, I'm a plus size, short, Black woman who's poly, who is into some really fucking weird shit, and it's okay to be like that. I still lead a very normal life. To a lot of people, I still lead a normal life. My friends know that I'm kinky, and they find it hilarious. They love the stories, and they've been a part of some of the scenes that I've been in. My vanilla friends, not even my kink friends, and my family knows that I'm poly. And so for me, I hope just by being here and being in the forefront and being able to answer questions and talk to people, that they know they're not alone. There's someone who likes everything. Like, I have yet to find something that I'm like, you know what, there's a kink for that. There's a kink for that. I've seen it. And so it's one of those things where I hope just by my presence that I'm letting other people know it's okay to be who you are. And if someone's not okay with that, then fuck them. That's pretty much my motto.
That's awesome.
You're like Olivia Pope with a whip. And some chains.
Yes,
and
with a whip. Thank you. That is a great compliment. I will take that.
Because I just love you. You're so smart. You're so intelligent, and the way you explained all this to us today, it's just amazing. Once again, tell everybody your Facebook. Is it the Facebook page?
Instagram and your blog. Go ahead
Instagram.
And give them that.
Give them that. Instagram.
Yep. Sure. So Instagram is where I'm at all the time, and I take a lot of questions there, and that's going to be D20 Domme, DOMME, and then I've got my website, which is currently hacked, but it's getting fixed. Right. This is what happens when you run a site with a lot of adult content on it, and that's Mundane, TOMS.com, and then I can be reached at Natali at Mundane2Miss.com, and I'm on FetLife as D20 Domme as well, if anyone's on FetLife.
It has been a delight to have you on the show today. It really has.
Thank you. It's been so much fun.
I mean, I learned a lot.
Oh yeah, me too.
Did you learn a lot? Hell, Ashlyn's getting ready to go start a tea party.
I know.
Well, when they have the event again in Las Vegas, you must come and play with us in person.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that?
Absolutely. I'll be happy to beat you all.
Oh, I will, and I'm gonna bring whips and everything for our first meeting, girl. Well,
Sounds
listen, Dominatrix Natali, you have been an absolute delight, and I hope to have you back on again soon. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Ashlyn, thank you so much for co-hosting with me today.
Thank you, and thank you, Natali. It was awesome.
This is your crazy Aunt Susie's fabulous sex cast, and we've just been talking to Dominatrix Natali. Wow! Here we go.